Hi, I'm Jamie Lewis, and welcome back to thebasis.net. TC Electronic recently sent me over this Spectra Drive pedal to try out and put it through its paces, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So stick around. I know you're going to want to see this. So this right here is the Spectra Drive pedal by TC Electronic, and to be honest, I'm not really sure exactly how to classify it. If it was in the recording world, we would just call this a channel strip, because we've got a preamp, obviously, by the input gain and the output level. We've got a 4-band EQ, so lows, low mid, high mid, and treble. We've got a compressor, a 1-knob compressor, a distortion engine, and then, the XLR DI output. We've got an input, a through, and an out on the back, and 3 toggle switches right here. One is a ground lift, which always comes in handy. You can send the signal pre or post EQ from the XLR feed, and you can also choose instrument level or line level with this toggle switch right here. And as if that wasn't enough, TC also built in a couple other features that no other pedal in this range would have, which is this right here. You can see we've got 2 1/8-inch inputs. One to drive a set of headphones. This has what TC calls a studio quality headphone amplifier. And then we've also got an auxiliary in, so you could plug in your iPhone. Well, actually, iPhones don't have headphone outs anymore, so you could go from your laptop or get one of those adapters. But either way, so you could play to some backing tracks and monitor that through the headphones along with your bass, so it kind of acts as a quiet practice tool. And then, like I said before, we actually have 2 outputs on this thing. One is a through, and then one is a true dedicated output. So you could run one to your amp and another to your tuner, or drive a second amplifier or something like that. And I didn't even realize that this was a thing, but TC Electronic has included the same circuit from their Bonafide buffer pedal into the Spectra Drive. And so that way, you have no loss of high frequencies or signal loss when you get into longer cable runs. So that's really cool too. So that's all the bells and whistles that the Spectra Drive pedal has. And before we get into hearing it, I just want to make 2 really quick announcements. Number 1, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please do so. You just got to click on that button right there, and then make sure you also click on the notifications icon next to it. That way you'll get notified on your phone every single time a new video goes up or every single time I go live. And speaking of going live, I actually explored this pedal already with my audience during my last live stream. It was really, really cool because I got to tweak away at this thing and look at the chat, and people were like, oh yeah, try this, try that. And actually, Lars Fredriksson from TC Electronic, one of the guys who built this pedal, was there in the chat stream as well. So he was helping me out, correcting me when I was saying things wrong and answering my questions and yours. So if you want to check that out, just click on this link that's popping up right here. I believe we start getting into this pedal around the 30-minute mark. All right, so enough chatting, enough commercials. Let's just hear what this thing sounds like. All right, so I'm gonna play a few different contrasting audio examples through this pedal, and let's just see what it sounds like. You can be the judge. And by the way, you're gonna hear this a few different times. You're gonna hear each example dry, unaffected. Then you'll hear the bass process through this pedal, so you can hear the difference. And then I'm gonna place that processed bass tone into a mix so you can hear what it sounds like in context with a full band playing along, all right? So check this out. So what are my impressions of the TC Electronics Spectra Drive? Well, number one, let's talk about the EQ section. Very musical, very smooth. The lows weren't too muddy. The low mids weren't too dark or indistinct. The high mid really just kind of brought in some more of the attack, so more of the finger striking the string or more of the pick sound. And then obviously the treble wasn't too bright or too harsh. It was just right. And the compressor was very handy. And let me say this as well. I don't like one knob compressors. Being a recording engineer myself, I want to see meters. I want to know how much gain reduction I'm doing so that I can do the proper amount of makeup gain. I want to set my attack time and my release time and the threshold because I know how to compress. And just give me one knob of less compression, more compression. Usually I hate those kinds of pedals, but I'm not going to lie. It was very, very functional on the Spectra Drive pedal. So TC, kudos for that. And for the overdrive circuit, again, very, very functional. It could go from very subtle to extremely aggressive and over the top. And Lars, thank you so much for pointing this out during the live stream, because I made this mistake. In the beginning, I had my gain kind of up here because the level was backed off. And when I turned on the overdrive circuit, it was way too abrasive, way too loud. And I was like, wow, that's way too much for its lowest setting. And then Lars said, actually, the input gain feeds the overdrive circuit. So if you back the gain down and turn your level up, then it becomes much more subtle. Rather than being like full-on crunchy distortion, it acts more like a true overdrive pedal. And another thing that Lars pointed out, which was almost a deal breaker for me, is that the dry signal runs in parallel with the distorted signal. And that's something that for me, every overdrive pedal needs to have. If I can't dial back in my dry signal, I'm out. That pedal is worthless to me because once you start to do distortion, and a lot of distortion especially, you lose your low end. We're the bass. I want to have tons of low end in there. So if I can't dial in or mix in or blend in some of the original sound, then the overdrive is useless to me. Now, TC kind of built that into here. So as I turn the overdrive knob up, it's also blending in the original signal as well. I can't define how much that is. There's no mix knob. So they kind of preset that for you, which, you know, again, it's nice. I won't complain about it, but I do wish that I had a blend knob, you know, on my own so that I could determine how much wet and how much dry I want to have. So honestly, to my ears, this was a great sounding box. I got a killer slap tone out of it. I could get a very smooth, round tone. It was good for rock and plenty of aggression in that overdrive circuit. So really, there's not anything that this pedal couldn't handle. So let's break it down now. Where does this pedal shine the most? Or in other words, why would you want to run out and pick one up for yourself? Well, the first thing I can think of is just your throw and go gig. I mean, think about it. It's got a preamp built in, 4-band EQ compression and overdrive and a dedicated DI. Let's say I was doing just a one-off gig, or even better, a fly date, right? So now I don't have to, you know, lug this huge pedal board with me through the airport and keep it with me. I can just throw this one pedal in my backpack and it'll do the job of 4 different pedals. Or say you're running low on pedal board real estate, something that most of us have a problem with, either physically or like with power cables and patch cables and that kind of stuff. Again, this is doing the job of 4 different pedals: an EQ pedal, a compressor, a DI, and an overdrive. I mean, it's kind of got everything that you need. And think about it, those are also the 4 most common effects that a bass player would require to get the gig done. People ask me all the time, like, what kind of pedals do I need? What should I have? An EQ, a distortion or overdrive, compressor. I mean, maybe a DI, but the front of house is probably going to have one anyways. But, you know, again, the fact that it's built in, I'll take it. Okay, now to be fair, let's just talk about some of the things that I didn't like about this pedal. One of them I mentioned already. I wish that I had my own wet and dry knob for the distortion engine. I understand why they didn't include it because we're running out of real estate, but you know, I just got to say that. Same thing with the compressor. I mean, it's a very functional, very good compressor, but I wish that I could control attack, release, and threshold and all that stuff. But again, I understand why they left it off. The only other thing I could think of, and I'm just grasping at straws here, is the USB port on the back. I think is just for updating firmware. It would have been nice to be able to power the unit from a USB cable. That's something that's all the rage with a lot of different products right now. So that would have been cool, but again, nothing that I would consider a deal breaker for this unit. So all in all, I think this is a great pedal. It's got everything on it that you need in order to get the job done. and it might even replace a few pedals on your pedal board, which really is saying something. So thanks to Lars and James for making this review happen, and I can't wait to see what you guys are gonna do next. If you like this video, please click on that subscribe button. And if you really like what I do, then please come and hang out with me at thebassist.net. And also be sure to check out The Bassist Podcast. New episodes go up every single week. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you again here at thebassist.net.